The ballroom at the Fairmont Grand Hotel sparkled with grandeur, every detail meticulously curated to exude elegance. Crystal chandeliers cast a golden glow over the elite crowd of business moguls, actors, and journalists, their conversations creating a soft hum of anticipation. It was the annual charity gala, a night designed to celebrate unity and purpose. Yet the undercurrent of excitement hinted at something far more memorable. Toward the back of the room, away from the spotlight, sat Barron Trump. At just 18, his tall frame and composed demeanor made him hard to miss, though he seemed content to fade into the background, quietly observing the evening's proceedings. As guests clinked champagne glasses and exchanged pleasantries, the atmosphere shifted. All eyes turned to the stage as the MC introduced the evening's keynote speaker, a journalist renowned for their biting wit and fearless opinions. The crowd buzzed with anticipation, expecting sharp insights and daring commentary. Barron leaned back in his chair, his expression calm and unreadable. Little did anyone know, the calmness of the moment was about to be shattered. The journalist took the stage, their charisma and sharp humor instantly captivating the room. They began with light-hearted jokes about the city's traffic and past gala mishaps, eliciting polite laughter from the audience. But as their tone shifted, the jokes grew bolder, cutting deeper into political figures and cultural icons. The crowd chuckled nervously, unsure of where the line would be drawn. Then, the unthinkable happened. With a pause that seemed calculated, the journalist pivoted their focus to Barron Trump. The quip was sharp and unmistakably targeted, casting an uncomfortable spotlight on the youngest Trump. Nervous laughter rippled through the audience, but most sat frozen, exchanging uneasy glances. And then, the room fell silent. All eyes were on Barron. The anticipation was thick, the air heavy with tension. What happened next would stun the entire ballroom and leave the journalist scrambling for words. The gala was nothing short of a spectacle. The ballroom at the Fairmont Grand Hotel seemed to come alive with opulence and sophistication. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above rows of elegantly set tables, their polished surfaces reflecting the soft golden glow of the room. A string quartet played delicate melodies, weaving a serene yet celebratory atmosphere. Waitstaff glided effortlessly through the crowd, their trays balancing champagne flutes that caught the light with every movement. Guests, dressed in their finest evening wear, laughed warmly, their conversations blending harmoniously with the music. This was more than just an event. It was a gathering of power and purpose, a night to celebrate unity and support for underprivileged youth. In a quiet corner of the room, away from the glittering center stage, sat Barron Trump. At just 18 years old, his tall frame and poised demeanor naturally drew attention, though he seemed determined to remain an observer. His sharp blue eyes scanned the room with a calm curiosity, taking in the glamour and energy without engaging in it. Barron's quiet confidence created an air of mystery, and while many were drawn to his presence, he blended into the background, seemingly uninterested in being the center of attention. But beneath his reserved exterior lay a depth and composure that would soon take the room by storm. As the evening progressed, the conversations grew quieter, the clinking of glasses less frequent. A sense of anticipation rippled through the crowd as the host stepped up to the podium. With an engaging smile, they introduced the keynote speaker, a journalist whose reputation for fearless commentary and controversial takes preceded them. The room buzzed with excitement, guests exchanging glances of curiosity and expectation. The journalist was known to challenge norms and provoke thought, often towing the line of what was socially acceptable. Tonight, they promised to deliver a speech that would ignite conversation and challenge perspectives. The audience leaned in, eager for the boldness and insight that was sure to come. Little did anyone know, the glamour and unity of the evening were about to be overshadowed by a single moment, one that would push the boundaries of humor, ignite controversy, and reveal a side of Barron Trump that no one in the room expected to see. The journalist began with an air of effortless charm, stepping up to the podium with a confident smile and a polished presence that immediately captured the room's attention. They opened with light anecdotes, poking fun at the city's notorious traffic and sharing a humorous mishap about a champagne tower collapsing at a past event. Polite laughter rippled through the audience, breaking some of the initial tension and creating a sense of ease. For a moment, it seemed like the evening would unfold as any other high-profile gala, polished, predictable, and entertaining. But then, the tone shifted. What began as playful humor turned into sharp critiques of well-known public figures. The journalist, known for their unapologetically bold commentary, began weaving biting observations into their speech. At first, the crowd chuckled along, amused by the wit, but as the jabs became more personal, the laughter grew uneasy. Light-hearted quips gave way to cutting commentary aimed squarely at Donald Trump. "Love him or hate him," the journalist quipped with a sly grin. "You have to admit, he's the gift that keeps on giving, for people like me." The crowd's response was mixed. Some laughed, while others shifted uncomfortably, their smiles tightening. The energy in the room grew heavier as the journalist pushed further, seemingly enjoying the discomfort their words created. Then came the moment that silenced the crowd. With a deliberate pause, the journalist pivoted toward Barron Trump, who sat quietly at his table near the back of the room. "And of course," they said, their voice dripping with faux amusement, "we can't forget his most overlooked legacy, the next generation. I mean, let's talk about Barron. Imagine growing up in a golden tower while the rest of us are just trying to survive Mondays." Nervous chuckles rippled through parts of the crowd, but most attendees froze, sensing that the line had just been crossed. All eyes turned to Barron. In the silence that followed, the weight of the moment pressed down on the room. It wasn't just about the words. It was about the audacity of turning a young man into the butt of a joke in a space meant for celebration and unity. Barron, however, didn't flinch. He didn't shift in his chair or glance around nervously. He sat motionless, his expression calm and unshaken. His quiet defiance spoke volumes, radiating an understated strength that shifted the mood entirely. The journalist, now visibly unsettled, glanced toward Barron's table, perhaps expecting an outburst or some sign of distress. But there was none. The room, once buzzing with laughter and conversation, fell into an almost deafening silence. It wasn't just Barron's composure. It was the stark realization that the joke had missed its mark entirely. The journalist's confident smirk faltered, and for the first time that evening they appeared unsure. The audience held its breath, waiting to see how Barron would respond, but his silence was its own powerful statement. The ballroom, moments ago filled with laughter and murmurs, fell into an almost oppressive silence. The crystal chandeliers above seemed to amplify the stillness, their shimmering light illuminating a scene no one could have anticipated. All eyes were locked on Barron Trump, seated in the far corner of the room. He remained composed, his hands lightly resting on the table, his gaze steady and unyielding. The tension was palpable, as if the entire room was collectively holding its breath, waiting for a reaction that never came. The journalist, who had moments ago exuded confidence, now faltered. Their smirk faded, replaced by an awkward, almost nervous glance toward Barron's table. They cleared their throat, attempting to regain the room's attention, but it was clear. Their grip on the crowd had slipped. The audience's unease was growing, their initial amusement at the sharp commentary now replaced by discomfort and secondhand embarrassment. It wasn't just the words that had crossed a line. It was the stark contrast between the journalist's attempt to provoke and Barron's unshakable calm that held the room captive. Barron's silence was louder than any response he could have given. His stillness, his refusal to flinch or react, became a quiet but commanding display of strength. It wasn't indifference. It was intentional. It was as though he was saying, without uttering a single word, "I see you, I hear you, and I am unfazed." The power of that moment began to ripple through the crowd. Whispers broke the silence as attendees exchanged glances, the weight of the situation sinking in. The journalist's once sharp words now felt hollow, their intended punch evaporating in the face of Barron's dignity. The room braced itself, sensing that something extraordinary was about to happen. The journalist glanced down at their notes, their confidence visibly shaken, while Barron slowly adjusted his posture, sitting slightly taller in his chair. The stillness before the storm stretched on, the tension in the air thick enough to cut. The audience, captivated by the unfolding moment, leaned forward in anticipation. Barron's silence wasn't just a lack of reaction. It was the calm before an inevitable and unforgettable response. The room, already heavy with tension, seemed to freeze in time as Barron Trump rose from his seat. His tall, composed frame cut through the atmosphere like a blade, commanding the attention of every single person in the ballroom. The soft scrape of his chair against the polished floor echoed louder than any applause had earlier in the evening. Heads turned, whispers ceased, and even the journalist at the podium, moments ago brimming with confidence, now stood silent, their unease evident. Barron moved with a calm, deliberate stride toward the stage, each step amplifying the weight of the moment. When he reached the edge of the stage, Barron paused. The room held its collective breath as he turned to face the journalist. His voice, steady and clear, broke the silence. "Thank you for your insight," he began, his words cutting through the tension like a knife. There was no anger in his tone, no hint of malice. Only a calm, measured resolve that immediately captured the attention of everyone present. The journalist blinked, caught off guard by the unexpected composure of this young man they had so casually mocked. Barron continued, his gaze unwavering. "I've grown up watching people make assumptions about me, my family, and my life. It's almost become a game, a way to fill in the gaps when you don't know the full story. And I get it. We're public figures. It comes with the territory." His voice carried a depth of maturity and understanding that far exceeded his years. The audience, mesmerized, leaned in as his words began to shift the tone of the entire evening. "But there's something important that often gets overlooked," Barron said, his tone growing more deliberate, his words more piercing. "Behind every headline, every punchline, there's a human being, someone with their own struggles, their own dreams, their own story. You may think you know me because of who my father is, but you don't. Not really." His words, spoken without any trace of bitterness, felt like a mirror reflecting the weight of the moment back onto the journalist and the room. He turned slightly, addressing the audience now as much as the journalist. "What I've learned is that respect doesn't have to be earned. It should be given freely, especially when you don't know someone's story." The crowd sat in rapt silence, his message resonating deeply. "Words have power," Barron continued, his voice steady but filled with quiet conviction. "They can hurt or they can heal. They can divide or they can unite. And I think we could all use a little more of the latter." As his words hung in the air, the room was utterly still, each person seemingly lost in their own reflection of what had just been said. Barron's calm demeanor, his eloquence, and his ability to turn a moment of humiliation into one of universal reflection had transformed the energy in the room. He paused, his eyes scanning the crowd one last time before locking onto the journalist. "I hope this gives you something to think about," he said softly, his tone devoid of anger but heavy with meaning. With that, Barron turned and began his measured walk back to his seat. The sound of his footsteps echoed in the silence, each step a punctuation mark to the speech that had left the room spellbound. The journalist remained frozen, their earlier bravado completely dissolved. As Barron sat down, a ripple of applause began, hesitant at first, but quickly growing into a thunderous standing ovation. It wasn't just a response to what he had said. It was an acknowledgement of the dignity and strength with which he had said it. In that moment, Barron Trump wasn't just a young man defending himself. He was a voice of reason and respect in a world that desperately needed it. As the final words left Barron Trump's lips, the ballroom erupted into a thunderous standing ovation. The applause was deafening, reverberating off the crystal chandeliers and filling every corner of the grand hall. It was a collective response not just of admiration, but of redemption, an acknowledgement of the grace and wisdom Barron had shown in the face of ridicule. Even those who had nervously chuckled at the journalist's earlier remarks now found themselves on their feet, clapping with genuine respect. The journalist, standing awkwardly at the podium, seemed dwarfed by the wave of support for the young man they had underestimated. Barron, however, remained composed. Seated once more at his table, he offered only a polite nod of gratitude to those around him. He didn't bask in the applause, nor did he seek to draw further attention to himself. It was the quiet dignity of someone who had said what needed to be said, and nothing more. Yet, his words and actions had already ignited a spark that was about to spread far beyond the ballroom. Within hours, attendees who had discreetly recorded Barron's speech on their phones began sharing the clips on social media. The videos quickly went viral, spreading across platforms like wildfire. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere, users were captivated by the young man's poise and the powerful message he had delivered. Hashtags like #Barron Trump and #Words Matter trended worldwide, accompanied by captions praising his composure and maturity. "This is how you handle criticism, with class and grace," read one viral post. Another declared, "Barron Trump just reminded the world that words have power, and respect is always the better choice." The public reaction was swift and intense. Conversations erupted in comment sections and forums, with people from all walks of life weighing in on the boundaries of humor and the ethics of targeting public figures' children. Parents shared the clips with their own kids, using Barron's response as a teaching moment about respect and resilience. Educators discussed incorporating the moment into lessons on empathy and communication. What had started as a tense moment in a single room had now become a cultural flashpoint, forcing society to reflect on the power of words. Meanwhile, the journalist faced an immediate backlash. Once celebrated for their sharp wit and fearless commentary, they now found themselves at the center of a storm of criticism. The clip of their joke, juxtaposed with Barron's measured response, was dissected by news outlets, talk shows, and online personalities. Sponsors of their show issued cautious statements, and public sentiment quickly turned against them. The following day, the journalist released an apology, their usual confidence replaced with contrition. "Comedy is powerful," they admitted, "but it must be wielded responsibly. Last night I crossed a line, and I deeply regret it." While the apology garnered mixed reactions, it was clear that the fallout had shaken the journalists to their core. Their words, once seen as cutting-edge humor, were now viewed as a misstep that had cost them dearly. For Barron, however, the focus wasn't on the journalist's downfall. The applause, the viral fame, the headlines, none of it seemed to matter to him. His actions that night weren't about proving a point or seeking revenge. They were about standing up for dignity, not just his own, but for everyone's. As the applause in the ballroom finally died down, one thing was certain. Barron's calm response had turned a moment of ridicule into a powerful lesson, one that would echo far beyond the glittering chandeliers of the gala. It was a ripple effect of respect and empathy, one that reminded the world of the transformative power of choosing grace over confrontation. The incident at the charity gala quickly became a cultural flashpoint, igniting debates across news outlets, podcasts, and social media. Anchors dissected the evening's events with panelists, examining the broader implications of humor, respect, and public discourse. Social media buzzed with hashtags like #Barron Trump, #Respect Matters, and #Words Have Power, drawing millions into the conversation. For many, Barron's maturity in handling the situation became a shining example of how to rise above conflict with dignity. Parents and educators alike praised his response, sharing clips of his speech in classrooms and at dinner tables as a lesson in resilience and respectful communication. However, not all reactions were unanimous. Some rushed to defend the journalist, arguing that their joke fell within the boundaries of free speech and satire. "Comedians are here to challenge norms," one commentator declared, "and sometimes that means pushing uncomfortable boundaries." Others strongly countered, emphasizing that targeting a young adult, especially one who had largely avoided the public eye, crossed an ethical line. Barron's response, many argued, highlighted the need for civility in an era of divisive rhetoric. Amid the polarized opinions, one remarkable trend emerged. People from all walks of life and political backgrounds found themselves united, if only briefly, in admiration for Barron's composure. Supporters and critics of the Trump family alike acknowledged the poise and wisdom he displayed, setting aside partisan differences to appreciate the universal values of respect and empathy. "It wasn't about who he is," one viral tweet read. "It's about how he reminded us all to be better, no matter where we stand." This rare moment of unity demonstrated that dignity and integrity have the power to bridge even the deepest divides. Barron's actions not only diffused a tense situation, but also sparked a broader reflection on how we communicate and treat others in a world that often prioritizes conflict over connection. For a nation often divided, his response was a reminder that grace and composure still have the ability to resonate far and wide. The ripples of Barron Trump's response at the gala extended far beyond the elegant ballroom, creating a lasting impact that reshaped public discourse. Networks, facing mounting public pressure, began implementing stricter guidelines to ensure that humor targeting individuals, especially young or vulnerable figures, remained within ethical bounds. Comedians, once emboldened by pushing boundaries, took a step back to reconsider the line between satire and personal attacks. Industry insiders hailed the moment as a turning point, where the responsibility of wielding humor with care became a priority. In classrooms and homes across the country, Barron's calm and thoughtful response became a teaching tool. Parents and educators used the viral moment to spark meaningful discussions about respect, empathy, and the power of words. Teachers played his speech as an example of how to handle adversity with grace, inspiring students to think critically about their own actions and reactions. "Words can heal or hurt. We should all choose wisely," became a mantra for cultivating kindness and accountability in daily life. As for Barron, he returned to his quiet life, focused on his studies and personal growth. He remained unaffected by the whirlwind of attention his actions had garnered, embodying the same calm resolve that had captivated the world that night. Yet his legacy endured. His response at the gala became a cultural touchstone, a reminder that even in moments of tension and provocation, choosing respect and empathy can create profound change. Barron's actions, though unintentional, left an indelible mark, sparking a cultural shift toward kindness and accountability that resonated far beyond the event itself. His quiet legacy proved that even a single act of composure could ignite a movement, challenging society to rise above divisiveness and embrace a more compassionate future. The evening closes with a serene image of Barron Trump sitting at his desk, the soft glow of a desk lamp illuminating his thoughtful expression. He pens a simple yet profound note. "Words have power. Let's use them to build bridges, not walls." His reflection isn't just about that pivotal moment at the gala. It's about the lasting impact of choosing respect and kindness, even when provoked. As the camera pans out, the story shifts its focus to you, the viewer. "This isn't just Barron's story," the narrator begins. "It's a powerful reminder that dignity, respect, and empathy have the power to transform the world." In a time when words often divide us, Barron's response shows us that they can also unite, heal, and inspire. The call to action is clear and heartfelt. Let's follow his example. Choose words that uplift. Choose actions that reflect empathy. Share this story, start conversations, and commit to spreading kindness in your daily life. Together, we can build a culture where dignity and understanding are at the heart of everything we do. The screen fades to black, leaving viewers with one final message. Your words matter. Use them to make a difference. The story lingers in the heart, a call to action that resonates far beyond the screen, inspiring a ripple of change that begins with every individual who listens.